Hola estudiantes, estamos ahora en capítulo 9. Y en capítulo 9 hablamos de viajes, de vacaciones, de viajando y cosas similares. Before you're starting with this, you should have already finished with all of the work for capítulo 8, which means you should have taken your first exam, right? And done your forum posts and your film. So make sure you've done all of your work, your My Spanish Lab, everything before you get started on the next chapter. So in chapter 9, we're talking about travel. It's a great topic for a summer course, right? A lot of people vacation and travel. So that's our vocabulary we're going to be working with in this chapter. In this chapter, we have a lot of new grammar concepts. This is the chapter in which you will be working with the difference between por and para. These both essentially mean for in Spanish, but they have distinctive different uses. And we have to learn when and how to use each of those. You will also be learning how to use adverbs in Spanish, and particularly adverbs that end in mente. So you have, for example, the adjective lento, slow. If you want to make that into an adverb, which would be slowly, you would say lentamente. So we'll be learning how to do this, how to form adverbs. Adverbs are very important because adverbs, as we should know from studying English, are words that are most often used to modify either verbs or adjectives. So they're not being used to modify nouns, but they're being used to modify or describe other parts of a sentence. The biggest part, or the biggest new grammar concept in Capítulo 9 is beginning el subjuntivo, the subjunctive. This is a concept with which a number of English speakers have trouble because they think that we don't have this tense in English. That's actually not the case. It's just become the norm that English speakers don't use it as we should. And it is a tense that we should be using in English just as they do in other languages. So I will put together a recorded lecture on using the subjunctive as well as on adverbs and on por y para. The good thing about the subjunctive, even though students tend to struggle with it when we begin here, is that we will be sticking with the subjunctive in Capítulo 9, Capítulo 10, y Capítulo 11. So we're going to be reinforcing and reiterating how to form it, what uses we have, using subjunctive with making commands. So this is something we'll continue working on. You're not going to get it immediately. It's not expected that you would get this immediately. So it's something that's just going to take work and take practice. Culturally, we're going to be talking about the South American countries of the Caribbean, in particular Venezuela y Colombia. So make sure you do the cultural sections as well. Work-wise, you should have seen my announcement with Capítulo 8. And also seen in the modules that Duolingo has now been made into an extra credit exercise for this class. I received a number of email concerns. Again, I really wish you would post these things in the general discussion forum because, like I said, if one or two students are struggling with this, then it's likely there are more who are as well. But after receiving a number of concerns about the volume of homework for a summer class, even with it being a little different from what we had in S100, because you now have the verb races and you're learning more tenses, I decided that I would make the Duolingo into an extra credit exercise. I could not take away my Spanish lab as one of you suggested, because my Spanish lab is the homework that goes directly along with the e-text, and it works directly with the grammar concepts that you're learning. So my Spanish lab is extremely important. Duolingo is also an important and a super fun resource for learning Spanish, but it's not as vital to the workings of the course. I encourage you to keep doing it if you have time, and post your screenshots of your progress and the assignments to get some extra credit points, but it's not necessary that you do so. What is necessary is that you go through all the different parts of the module. Make sure you are getting all of your work done. That's one. Of course, going through the e-text and doing all the audio and the oral exercises in the e-text, audio, video, oral exercises. And then doing my Spanish lab homework. You also, of course, need to do your forum composition post, okay, and make sure that you respond to another student. You need to watch your film and post on the film, and then again, make sure you respond to at least one other student's post on the film. Make sure you're interacting on the cultural differences in the films. You need to do your verb race and make sure you record your score in the wiki link. The other big thing you must do with Capitulo 9, and I hope you're watching this early so you get going, is you need to first sign up for a time to do your midterm oral exam with me. This is different than it was with 100. With 100, you only had a final oral exam. With 150, you will have one at midterm, and then you will have a different type of final oral exam at the end. So you need to sign up for a time, go to the wiki link and go to midterm oral signups and sign up for a time to do your midterm oral exam with me. There is a section of the module that talks about the midterm oral that has a link to the list of questions that you may possibly be asked during the oral exam. I won't ask all of them, but you should be prepared to answer any and all of them. And then on either the 29th or the 30th, so the last 2 days of Capitulo 9, you will be meeting with me via Skype for your midterm oral exam. Now, if you have a conflict and you cannot make any of the sign-up times, you need to email me as soon as possible to set up an arranged meeting time. I would prefer greatly that you try and fit in one of the times that I have listed in the wiki link. This is time that I am setting aside specifically in my day to do these oral interviews or oral exams. So if there's any way you can do it, I would prefer that. But if you absolutely cannot do any of the sign-up times, you need to contact me right away so we can find an alternative time for you to do your midterm oral. I think that's it, but if I have missed anything, of course, you know everything is laid out very clearly in the modules. So don't forget to be going through those so you don't miss anything. Of course, you have your checklist. Oh, of course, SI. You have SI with every chapter. That's required. It's a big part of your participation and professionalism grade. And then also conversation hours. Conversation hours are extremely important right now because you have your midterm oral exam coming up. So make sure that you're working with that. You want to be preparing yourself as much as possible. So this is a great time to be getting in some of those conversation hours, and those do count for 5% of your course grade. Any questions? Again, you know where to find us. You know where to find Profe. You can contact Lindsay. You can contact Sarah. And I hope you all have a very good week. Adios.